We shall be talking about Back to School 2023, and of course it's part 1. We have launched a series on Back to School, and today we are going to be talking about a security meeting which held in Yaounde, chaired by Defense Minister Joseph Beti Asomo, that brought together all the top security officials from the 10 regions of the country. And of course, it was an opportunity for the minister to send out President Paul Biya's message to all those who contributed to the successful running of the 2022-2023 academic year that, according to the minister, went hitch-free. We shall also, on the second part of the program, talk about the bishop or Anglophone bishops who met in Kumba recently, and they came out with certain resolutions concerning some of the burning issues in the country. They frown at the increasing rate of malpractices when it comes to the General Certificate of Education examination this year. They also talked about some compatriots who are using ethnic differences to tear apart the country. They call on the population and the authority that be to look into the matter. Thank you so much for joining. We are already set for tonight's discussion, and with us in the studio we have Tah Mai Jarvis, who is a journalist and of course a conflict negotiator. He's already with us in the studio. Good evening, Tah Mai Jarvis, and welcome.
Good evening, Lasha. Good evening to those who are joining us, and a special good evening to the guest whom you shall be introducing, who is already here in the studio. I want to seize this opportunity of my intro to say a special happy birthday to you, Senior Barrister Agbo Balang Kongo Felix, the voice of the voiceless, someone who has actually put his life on the line in terms of defending those who are being wrongly accused, also fighting for democracy in Africa and Cameroon, also fighting for the respect of the rule of law, and also fighting for justice, and that the law is a law and no one is supposed to be above the law and no one is supposed to be below the law. So on this day of your birthday, Barrister Agbo Balang Kongo Felix, pray that may the good God continue to guide you in all you do. And a special good evening to the peace-loving people of the Northwest and Southwest region who are always watching us, and those in the other parts of Cameroon, thy worth no tongue can tell. And I always continue by stating that the beautiful lyrics of Cameroon's anthem is something that we must always have a reflection as to whether or not we want the development of our country, or as to whether or not we want to continue to die within the abyss of reconstruction and also governance issues. The worth no tongue can tell. What are we singing? And also land of promise, land of glory. We have been dying based on promises, green revolution, rigor moralization, great opportunity, a great ambition, and also we are talking about vision 2035. With 10 years to go, where is the vision? How far has the vision gone? In that, we also shall be looking at the topic you have presented today. I just wanted to have that introspection as to land of promise. What are we promising, and how are we going to realize these promises?
Thank you for joining Tah Mai Jarvis. We equally have with us Dr. Apostle Ambe Valentine, who is a man of God and of course a permanent consultant at My Media Prime Television. Good evening, Apostle, and welcome.
Good evening, Lasha. Good evening, Jarvis. Good evening, Cameroonians, and welcome to this edition of Prime Hour. It's always a privilege to be here to discuss very heart-burning issues that concerns our nation, Cameroon, the continent, Africa, and the world at large. Today we are delving into something very, very important and sensitive for the security meeting held by the Minister of Defense for school resumption. Why this security meeting? Not against Boko Haram, not against the crisis in the East, but school resumption. Is there war in Cameroon?
Actually, we'll be talking about that, Apostle Ambe. I stay with you to begin with. It is always a tradition for the defense boss of the country to, bring together his collaborators of the regions to tighten securities and strategize on how they are going to, assist the different ministries of education to run the new school year. The recent one took place, that was yesterday in Yaounde, like we did mention in our introduction. And the defense boss, Joseph Beti Asomo, first of all, congratulated all those who contributed to seeing the just ended 2022-2023 academic year a smooth one.
Yes, I think it's important and it's imperative for the defense ministry to always watch the back of the citizens of the country, and equally it is their responsibility as being paid with the tax money of the citizens of the country to protect and defend the interest of every citizen in this country. Cameroon has been rocked with a lot of crises, beginning from Boko Haram right down to the Anglophone crisis, stretching to the crisis in the east. I think we have been in a very tense moment for the past 6 to 7 years as a nation, and we have had a lot of casualties. I'm sure these meetings were held 7 years ago when children were brutally killed in Kumba. These meetings were held when children were killed in Gabu. These meetings were held when others were arrested in school campus and humiliated, tortured, and embarrassed. I don't think it's something new again when it comes to maintaining the security of the country. The problem is, what have we done so far in order to maintain peace and serenity as far as what is causing this brouhaha in the country is concerned? This meeting should emphasize on bringing the root of the matter to an end rather than dealing with the branches, because paving security strategies or platforms to fight against insecurity in the country does not solve the problem, because we have guys who are still in the bushes causing a lot of atrocities in the nation. We've had recent cases of people being killed, some kidnapped, others ransom were demanded. One of my sons traveled to the village in precisely to bury the uncle, and he was almost kidnapped, but unfortunately he escaped. Fortunately, rather, he escaped, and unfortunately the uncle was kidnapped and a ransom of £1 million was collected. I asked the question, are we gathering money to send children back to school, to buy didactic materials for children, or are we gathering money to pay ransom at this very crucial moment? That should be the question.
Apostle, that takes me to my question. How ready is the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon when it comes to back to school? How ready are those regions? We cannot
completely rule out the idea that
but let's go comparatively. If you compare what happened 4 years ago and the situation that we have now, can we say something has improved?
Yes, there have been great amelioration as far as security is concerned, the northwest and the southwest, because by the year 2016, 2017, we're talking of a null school year, a school year that children could not even go to school. And by then we had a lot of killings and the gun smoking east, west, south, and there was total insecurity. But as the days go by, we realized that certain particular towns in the north and the southwest are no longer considered as red zones. For instance, there was a red zone in 2016. It's no longer a red zone. Kumba was a red zone in 2016. It's no longer. Bamenda town itself was a red zone. It's no longer a red zone. Except the outskirts of Bamenda, you can now experience challenges in some particular communities. To some extent, if you look at the result of the General Statistical Education Examination this year, the number of people who wrote in the Northwest increased. The percentage of schools also increased this year. It shows that there's a level of stability, because you need stability and serenity to have a psychological balance for children to study. We need a serene environment for children to have done well the way they did this year. That tells us that there are some practical strides that have been taken to maintain that, make sure that peace is maintained. But to me, we have not gotten the peace that is expected, because a lot of individuals have gone out of their localities. They are still in the other part of the country, and most of our schools have transferred to this other part of the country, and they are raising up gigantic structures. They are raising up beautiful structures, and our children are now more bilingual than ever before. As a matter of fact, there's going to be gradually an eradication of the Anglo-Saxon culture as well as education because of the crisis in the north and south. So I think peace will maintain, so will maintain the status quo of the Anglo-Saxon education.
So how should this peace be maintained? Because the meeting brought together the Delegate General for National Security, the police boss. We also had the gendarmerie boss. We also even had the Directorate for External Research. We also had members of that institution coming together. Why this mobilization? And do children need to study under this kind of environment, that such, kind of security atmosphere? If there is to be put in place, especially in the northwest and southwest.
Yes, Lasha, if there is no action, there will be no reaction. I'm sure the government is reacting based on the action that is on ground. It's actions that provoke reaction. So if at all they are calling the security meeting and trying to tighten the security means there is a problem. There cannot be intensity in security measures if at all everywhere is calm and cool. But you realize that the intensity in the security measures because things are not the way they used to be. For instance, in 2010, there was no security measures put in place like this. 2011, they were not. So that tells you that something is wrong somewhere. The good thing is that they've acknowledged that something is wrong. Number two, they are approaching it. That's good. But now, my problem is, why is it that with all the security measures put in place, we still have almost the same kind of result we used to have when there is security? Why should there be security yet people are still suffering the same casualties that they used to suffer at first? I'm not like trying to roll the fact that they are not working. They are working, but they need to intensify in such a way that we should have complete peace and serenity come back to the north and the southwest.
But in Cameroon, apparently, Cameroon has multifaceted problems, like you mentioned in your analysis.
Boko Haram, the East.
Boko Haram, East,
yes.
influx of refugees. We also have the rebels coming in from Central African Republic,
yes.
which is also a very big problem to Cameroon. Now, are you saying that, let's talk about the Anglophone crisis, are you saying that government should not tackle insecurity and instead focus on solving the Anglophone crisis? Because we talk about the root causes of the problem in the Northwest.
Yes.
There are some people who have gone out of hand. There are people who have genuine or legitimate claims. Are you saying that these people, who some of whom have been termed criminals, should not be tackled from criminal perspective?
The issue is, what we are trying to discuss here is that in every list of
like for example, somebody comes out and say, GBHS Ndop. If a child goes to GBHS Ndop, that child will be shot and killed. You want the government to...
Those are not statements we get from the north. Those are not statements we get from the east. Despite the infiltration of the rebels from Central Africa, schools are running smoothly over there. Despite the infiltration of Boko Haram in the north, schools are running smoothly. There are places like Diamare, Faro Edio, Tokombere, Mora. That's the hot spot of Boko Haram. Yet, schools are running there smoothly. Now, I'm talking about because the children's education are in jeopardy. What we are talking in the north and the south is that they are jeopardizing the next generation. So I think on a scale of preference, somebody is supposed to have a priority. And looking at the case of Boko Haram, it's an old case. We've been handling it for a very long time. Infiltration of rebels from Central Africa is the same thing. But you see, what is hot right now in this country has caused serious instability. As a matter of fact, internally displaced people came from the Boko Haram, from Northwest and Southwest. Children not going to school, Northwest and South. As a matter of fact, it was a crime. Oh, it is a crime to go to school. But when Boko Haram was there, wasn't a crime to go to school. So what we are talking here is the security measures put in place to make sure that children go back to school. We are dealing with a particular subject as far as the peace is concerned. But
it's for the entire nation, not only for the Northwest and Southwest. Apparently you have a problem with it being
no,
for the entire nation, not only
that.
for the Northwest and Southwest.
No, you probably you are not getting me. Like I said, on a scale of preference, there is number one priority.
Which is the Northwest and Southwest.
I'm telling you, they should give it that prior opportunity, the opportunity to be at the forefront. They should target peace in the Northwest and Southwest by every means possible.
Okay. Tah Mai Jarvis, I'm with you.
I go with Senior Apostle Ambe. To every action, there is equal but opposite reaction. And if you look at what is happening in Northwest and Southwest, you ask him the question that, but there's Boko Haram, there's Seleka rebels and other issues in Cameroon. Why is he stressing on the fact that Northwest and Southwest should be looked upon? I want to go economically and also politically. If you look at the economic perspective, the crisis in the Northwest and Southwest is draining Cameroon's economy more than the crisis in Boko Haram.
Of course.
Because let us look at the breadbasket of Cameroon. Where is the breadbasket of Cameroon? Let's look at the mineral resources in terms of the availability they readily used. In terms of readily used, Sonara where? Let's look at also the mines, some mines along the Ikona quarry that produce great chunk of the construction of roads. Let's look at the rubber. Let's look at the cocoa. Let's look at these issues and look at Cameroon's GDP. Where is Cameroon GDP coming? The great number of Cameroon GDP is from the Northwest and the Southwest. So Northwest and Southwest has a key role. That's why it should be the priority. Well, that's why in economy we call it the scale of preference. The scale of preference, which now what Apostle is bringing in is that the government should use Northwest and Southwest as opportunity cost to forego the others for now. Not that it's not important, because you must have a scale of a list, which is a list of unsatisfied ones described as scale of preference. Then you now move to what is known as choice, which you choose Northwest and Southwest to be the priority, which is the act of selecting between two things of alternative. The rest now becomes the opportunity cost, which are the alternative are to forego in preference of another, not like not leaving it out. Let's look at the economy again. Look at Douala. How much impact did the crisis in the Northwest and Southwest impact Cameroon's commercial capital as compared to Boko Haram insurgency, Seleka rebels? Those are the ingredients of analysis a state start uses to now know that, okay, this is where our priority area should be. The key index here is the GDP. And if the Northwest and Southwest crisis has greatly affected Cameroon's GDP, it is but incumbent for the government to prioritize the Northwest and Southwest. Come now to look at, he also pinpointed the issue of the security crisis. Year in, year out, we have been having these meetings and nothing is done. Nothing concrete happened. When we talk about concrete, it's not like something is not being done. For sure, the crisis has died down in some areas. Like he pointed out, we had in conflict, we have three categories of things we look at. That will classify conflict. We have the green, we have the yellow, we have the red. Now, when it is green, it assumes that everything is normal. There is not everything is normal, people are not dying hazardly. When it is yellow, it means that there is a threat in which people's lives start being in jeopardy. People are afraid. When it's red, yellow, which means that in some areas like Boya, he cited, Kumba is yellow, it's not green, it's yellow. It has moved from red to yellow, which means that there is that laxity. You can move around, you can do some things. Now, within the exterior, the other areas, it's still in red. And now, why should we be reactive than being proactive?
So, what are you saying?
What I'm saying in essence,
you're saying that government should assign a police officer to a student?
No, what I'm saying in essence is that we don't need to get to that stage by being reactive, by calling for meetings to want to prevent a crime from happening. But we need to eradicate the crime itself. And eradicating this crime itself is simple. I think that the people at the helm of office still want to enjoy money. That's why this security meeting are called up. Money is disbursed, missions others disbursed, sitting allowances are disbursed. But assuming that our head of state, guarantor of national security, #1 statesman, chief uniter, President Paul Biya, decide today that he wants to resolve this crisis, stage 1, he has to take this country to a balcony perspective in conflict. What is that balcony perspective? Balcony perspective, the balcony is when you want to relax in your house. You go to your balcony and you have a cool head and you look at everything now from a distance and you look at everybody from the down, where you say, okay, let me look at, observe what's happening. In conflict, we call that the balcony perspective. How will this translate into a balcony perspective? President Paul Biya need to carry out activities that will put this country to a balcony. How? #1 issue is release all those arrested in connection of the crisis during this period. You know, that was done when Barrister Abu Bala were released. I think that should be August 30th. Back to school, on the eve of back to school, I was in Boya Council when we were distributing didactic materials. And the whole place was jubilating and it brought a lot of relief. That was the balcony moment where people go and say, wow, let's just get things. He has released people, so let's not stress. That's the first. When everybody's released from Mancho BBC to everybody, the Northwest and Southwest will move to a celebration mood, first of all. And now, the hardliners will pipe down to say that they have released these people. And they release people who have their partner for peace. Will start to say, hey, boy, I beg, please, let's just hold on a while. Let's just calm down a while. We have had freedom. The next aspect of this balcony perspective is to call for a fresh dialogue. And this dialogue around, the government has the power. Calling for I know your next question will be
Jarvis,
no, I'm still within the context of back to school.
Immediate solution, what we need now, because we
are
a few weeks to school.
Lasha, this
some measures need to be taken.
Lasha,
right?
We must be honest. We cannot go by rushing cosmetic solution in conflict. We are where we are today.
So the question I asked Apostle Ambe, I will still ask you this question: what do you do with the people who have been regarded as criminals.
I am
Those
coming.
who are not doing,
I was about to go there.
who are not
I'm coming.
for
I'm coming. The
or
issue
the
is
genuine cause,
Lasha.
some people
Lasha. I don't want to refuse the fact that there are not people who have committed crimes and crimes against humanity as far as the Northwest and Southwest is concerned, and it's both ways. Let's not just blame the voices. It's both ways, and there are people who have committed this crime by verbally who are wearing suits in Yaounde. In conflict, there are three categories. There's what we call structural conflict, direct conflict, and cultural conflict. That crime that you are saying is because that person decided to go direct. Direct conflict is when you take an arm or a weapon and injure somebody. That's direct conflict. People see it directly that, hey, this is what is happening. Now, cultural conflict, structural conflict is when a group of people feel that they are more intelligent and than others and feel that priority should be given to them by virtue of their position than others. And this is the conflict that led us to direct conflict where we are today in the Northwest and Southwest because of marginalization, which was a structural conflict.
What is the solution?
So you cannot rush to say we want back to school. We must paint the picture as it is. What I'm saying is that the second aspect of this balcony perspective is call for a fresh dialogue where the government decide that everybody on the table, everybody, let us look at way forward. Let me tell you, a lot of people who are fighting Northwest and South, there are four categories here. One, those who are just fighting because the voices were in their locality and because they were men, they had to just join so that they stay safe. The second aspect are those who are revenge, who want to revenge, whose family in one way or the other were touched. The next category of people are those who actually believe in the conflict. They have the different numbers. The last category are those who are thieves, who just see it as an opportunity. These are categories.
Which
now,
is where the problem is
now, how do we unite all these categories? General dialogue. When you relate everybody, including the military men in connection to this crisis, the country goes into festivity. The next thing is the head of state decide to announce a fresh dialogue. This time says, diaspora, we'll meet you there, we'll have a discussion with you. Let me tell you, in conflict, the first stage is in the discussion, you will disagree with each other, is normal. You will insult, but keep the conversation. Before you want to realize, you are asking this, your next partner,
compromise.
What do you think we can do? If I'm in government position, I'll call this dialogue. I'll ask these guys, write me, excuse me, your proposal, what you think can be done. I start with the one I can do.
Okay. Sorry about that. We have somebody on the line, Dr. John Asson, who is on the line to South Africa. Good evening, doctor, and thanks for joining. Difficulties in connecting with Dr. Asson. Doctor, I don't know if you are getting me. Apostle Ambe will come back to Dr. Asson. Dr. Asson is struggling to join us on the line to South Africa via Skype. But unfortunately, we lost him. We continue with the discussion. And Jarvis was talking about the stages when it comes to conflict resolution. That what we need in the Northwest and Southwest region now is not those security meetings that are being held in Yaounde, but what he was talking about. Do you share a similar opinion?
Yes, we have sung this song severally from 2016 to date, that resolving a crisis is not like entering into a supermarket and picking a loaf of bread. It's a process. And every process has a stage. And sometimes it takes a lot of patience for you to go through all the stages. There will be disagreements and people have to shift grounds. People have to compromise. There's never been any negotiation without people shifting grounds, some compromising their position in order for peace to reign. What has made this crisis very difficult is because both parties have held tight to the end of the cord. The only thing that can bring tension on a cord is when both ends of the cord are held very firm. So the separatists are holding the end, the government is holding the end, so the cord is tension in the middle. But when both parties relax, that is shifting grounds, you realize there will be an automatic relaxation of the cord at the center. This is the reason why we are where we are today, because people have refused to let go certain structures. Recently, I had a program on air here with Capo Daniel, and he was talking how they are shifting grounds. So to me, I was saying that why bring this solution when we already have casualties on ground? This is something we're supposed to have negotiated earlier. And I said it is not too late because persons are still dying. If at all we can come back and negotiate at this level, it will prevent us from those who are going to die in 2023, 2024, 2025. Because if we handle this thing in 2016, we will not bury those who died in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. It's the same thing. Delay solution also promote and increases casualties. And that's the reason why we're talking about this process. This process of dialogue has stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. And if all these stages are not followed gradually, there is no way you can solve. You cannot automatically just catch a problem of this magnitude with different heads. The Anglophone crisis is like octopus right now. By the time you are giving this hand, the next hand is coming this way. By the time you are trying to settle with the Yabacho, Sako is coming from this angle. So how do you harness all these different heads of the octopus and bring it under a particular umbrella to give the octopus direction? That is how the case is right now. The Anglophone crisis, the best description to be given to the crisis is an octopus crisis, if I'm supposed to name it, because it has several arms that you are unable to hold. While you are trying to get this one convinced, the other hand is getting lifted. So how do you bring all these arms under single control? The first thing is what David said, because one way or another, all these arms are connected to those who have been locked up in prison. There are people who are from the Sako camp, there are others from the Yaba camp who have persons who are locked up in prison. So, as a matter of fact, releasing them will touch a soft spot in their lives. That will make them understand, okay, there is a development at this level. If they are all touched at a certain level, they will now begin to also release the tension that is in their heart to come to a place of compromise, because there is no way. I studied the Tah Mai Tigers in Sri Lanka. They fought from 1986 to 2009. That's 26 years of battle. Before they could come to a place of negotiation, the government negotiated with them until the Tigers finally surrendered with negotiation, saying that they have not given up, they will still come and fight again. That was a nice way of giving up the battle. That was a nice way, but it took series of negotiations from one time to another. There is no crisis in the world that people have not sat at least 7, 8 times. Even the Nigerian Civil War that took place in 1967 to 1970, they started with the Aburi Accord in Ghana. That was when negotiations started. When Ojukwu and Effiong realized that they could no longer continue, that was when they had surrendered. The negotiations had started somewhere. The issue is we just want an automatic turnaround. What automatic turnaround? How can you hold the national dialogue once and say everything is settled? Go around the whole world, all conflicts were not settled in a single dialogue. It's not.
Okay, Apostle, apparently we have been focusing only in the northwest and southwest region.
Yeah,
Let's come back to other parts of the country where
yes,
violence have been the order of the day in so many schools in big cities like Yaounde and Douala. You look at the location of some schools where schools are located. Apparently nobody cared about what is happening around the schools. You have people smoking weeds around schools. You have schools that don't even have the gates.
Yes, that's true.
So what is it that needs to be done for children to be safe?
You know, there has been a rise.
2023,
there has been a rise in children, even students, killing teachers, students killing students in schools recently. We've had results in 2022, even in 2023. A lot of vandalism, hooliganism, all forms of criminality are manifested in different schools in the nation. What I was trying to speak the last time I was in Bonabari, I said children enter into school campuses with metal objects, some with knives, some with all kinds of material that before a teacher speaks, a child has pierced the teacher with a knife or pierced the fellow friend with a knife. I think the police officers in this nation are to maintain public security. Public security is not standing at the roadside and asking drivers to give you 500 francs. Maintaining public security, because the police is the internal force. The military is the external force. Military forces are not supposed to work within the city. They are the ones who defend the frontiers of the country from other invaders. The police are the ones to maintain public security. And public security has to do with different institutions. Now, if at all our schools are facing this kind of challenge where students fight with teachers, students pierce students, students pierce teachers, we constantly hear of death and all kinds of rascalic act in schools, it means the police are supposed to be positioned in different school campuses. It will shock you that there are some schools that do not even have a police station close by, the next 2,000 meters away from that school. We had a video on social media where a guy in the school campus was kicking a police officer and beating him mercilessly. That's to tell you that there's no respect again for the uniform country. And if force is not put in place at a certain level,
normally they would need to have metropolitan police,
of course,
making patrols
around, institutions. Hospitals are institutions. I mean, we have institutions in this country in different capacity. They should mount security in those places. Markets are places where security is supposed to be maintained. Rather than gatherings of people who go and sit in an environment where no cars or vehicles are, when vehicles are coming, they collect money from them. What are they doing in Bigoko? There's no insecurity in Bigoko. There's insecurity in Dokoti. There's insecurity in Marseille Central. There's insecurity in Marseille Congo. There's insecurity in school campus. There's insecurity in Aqua. There's insecurity in other institutions in the country. We should send police people to school campus where children come with metal objects and the peers teachers, the peers their fellow colleagues in school. That is where the policeman has a responsibility to maintain public security. Not running behind a deer because he's going out and he wants to go and escape, you run after him. You run after people who are crossing the road and going to be Mutenga and you collect 500 from them. That's public security. That's public security.
Tah Mai Jarvis, this vigilance that the defense boss called in Yaounde recently, how should the vigilance be, be materialized?
I always like to look at things from the human side. There's a push and push factor here. The school is a center of learning, a citadel of learning. Now, it is just a convergence center. It is GIGO in terms of garbage in and garbage out. These kids that go to schools live in quarters. They have mothers and fathers. They have families. So they take this culture from the quarters, from the homes, into the school. The weapon is not manufactured in school. The knives manufactured from the quarters. What Senior Apostle Ambe said, identifying the problem will help us reduce it, but being reactive will help us see staying in the dark. That we have been having these meetings. Let me ask you a simple question, Lasha. What has been done to the child that stabbed the teacher in Yaounde? What sanction? There's in law, I might not in law. There's what called a mitigating and aggravating circumstance. When a harsh punishment is given, it's an aggravating circumstance. It makes many people to be afraid of carrying out retributive.
Maybe lack of communication surrounding.
No, there's nothing as lack of communication.
Yes, such examples you are talking about. Maybe the child was sanctioned, no communication.
What
on the part of government?
What sanction?
That's why I'm saying that maybe there's lack of.
We are using the premise of maybe.
Yes. Lack of communication.
It's conditional.
Which in itself is still a problem. Why should we live in the maybe government? We have been living in the maybe government since for long. Jan 5 were kidnapped for 2 years. We're living in a maybe. Maybe they are still alive, maybe. Until they die.
Okay.
I've not landed. Okay. No, don't. No,
apparently today is not a very good day.
No, the thing is,
they are choking. Have some water, Jarvis. Let me.
No.
Have some water. Let me go to Bamenda.
Okay.
So we can listen to the interview of the regional delegate for secondary education, Mr. Ngwang Roland, who spoke to the microphone of Charles Kebo and Bamenda. If the interviews are really ready, let's have them.
Of 220,000 students. And the crisis came and depleted this enrollment. And in 2018, this enrollment fell to a point where we had about 27,000 children in our schools. So imagine, and when I tried to trace in our regions, about the same number was in other regions. So in 2018, we had about 175,000 students. The 175,000 figure has been dropping gently, and as at the last year, the figure has dropped down to 75,000 students who were able to trace wherever, and they're not in any school. They're not in any school around region here. I followed up with my colleagues in our regions. The kids are not there. Okay, so this is the challenge we have to make sure that we recuperate and bring back these students who are lost to follow. Because if we don't bring them back, as I said, and as I keep repeating, they have become a time bomb that is moving around looking for a way to escape to himself, a danger to all of us and a danger to society. So we have, as one of our responsibilities this year, and we're working together with administrative authorities, with traditional authorities, quarterheads and all that. So the quarterheads have a responsibility to know in every household, this house like this, how many kids are in this house. Schools have started, are they going to school? If they're not, the quarterhead has a responsibility with the parents to encourage the parents to send these kids to school, which I am crying particularly this year. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eli, for those interviews. Those were the interviews of the regional delegate for secondary education in the Northwest region, talking about preparations ahead of school resumption in the Northwest region of the country. Mr. Ewane Roland spoke to the microphone of Charles Cable over there in Bamenda. Apostle Ambe Valentine, you were complaining about institutions. I don't know if you have to put it complaining or trying to underscore the importance of institutions to be guarded by security officers rather than having, these administrative authorities being led by police officers and institutions abandoned.
Yes. I'm speaking this thing passionately because I have come to realize that we build men rather than building institutions, and that is the reason why Africa has been going backward. As a matter of fact, we cannot value the life of an individual more than the life of thousands of people. To the best of my understanding, with the consistent occurrence of children or students killing each other, killing teachers, I think it was supposed to have been a major concern that schools by this time around would have had police officers assigned to them. It would have been a national announcement. But unfortunately, what we get is that children who are pregnant can still come to school. That's the amelioration of the secondary education in Cameroon.
But you're saying that people, because of their mistakes, they should not be given a place?
Not that. It's like licensing a certain, I used to draw inspiration from other presidents. John Pombe Magufuli gave free education in Tanzania. And the condition was that if you get pregnant, your family will start paying fees. What a way of fighting moral decadence. I'm going to grant free education to all government schools in Tanzania, that if you get pregnant as a lady, your family will start paying fees. So every girl kept their legs closed because they did not have money to pay fees. Neither did not want their family to enter into a stress where the government had provided something. But rather, it's the case opposite here. The case is opposite here. Now, what we are talking is insisting on the fact that there are institutions in this country that carry sometimes 3,000, 4,000. A child was killed in Daido. A child was killed in the lycée in Yaounde. Those lycées consist of at least 2,500 students. And those students are the leaders of tomorrow in this country. We cannot deny the generation coming forward. So I think it is their responsibility to have recruited the police officers and sent at least two police officers in each campus. The presence of those police officers communicates something automatically and psychologically to the students in that institution. That alone.
Briefly,
I was stating that this crime leave the quarters to schools.
Of course.
Daido, tackle the crime at the quarters. It will greatly reduce in school. People are being being attacked in Aqua on broad daylight. In the afternoon, where are the police? Go to Lycée de Daido. Here at Lycée de Daido here. There is a police beside. But look at the activities that occur around the lycée. It's not safe to stand beside the lycée.
Of course.
But there's a police office there, a police station. Now go to New Bell and the rest. Let me be honest with you. These students leave the quarters, enter the school. So they take the attitude from the quarters and enter into the school.
Campus.
So it becomes an issue of tackling insecurity.
So you're blaming the government?
I am blaming the government
for
because
morals decadence.
Yes, that's the first. The second issue is if you tackle the crime in the quarters, you will reduce the one in school for 10 or 20 or 30%. Another issue I am bringing, Senior Apostle, is what are the kind of punishment that were done for those students who did attack on teachers and attack on students? What? When J. Rollins took over, how he reduced corruption in Ghana was because people were publicly executed. Let me tell you, the day you shall take those actions, justice should not only be done, but it must be seen to have been done. That's the rule of law. Okay. So you cannot use say that maybe. We have been maybe in every aspect in this country.
Jarvis,
no, Lasha.
I was just saying that probably we
you are not wrong.
Enough information as to how those children
I'm simply saying that you are right.
Okay.
You are right because we are believing that kind of government that takes us in maybe.
Okay.
Fun of Bambala was kidnapped for how many years? We were in a maybe. No official communique. Maybe he was alive, maybe he was not alive. We are ruled by Romans. Maybe. But there come a time when we must be honest to ourselves that tackling insecurity should not resolve in maybe. How often do they communicate to us? We are in a state where instead the people are accountable to their leaders instead of the leaders be accountable to the people. It is our right to know what happened to all these places.
Okay. Maybe we take some few messages at exactly 8 p.m. We'll go on a commercial break to come back and continue with the second part of the program. Good evening to you guys in the studio. Nice discussion. From my view, I think the police should do their best in securing the citizens rather than taking bribes. That's what somebody has sent from Kumba. I say I'm writing from Kumba. Good evening to you guys in the studio. Thank you so much for bringing Apostle Ambe and Tah Mai Jarvis on the panel. They are really making us proud. You didn't tell us your name and where you are writing us from. Greetings to you all. Jarvis, sorry, get some water. We need this intellectual discussion. Jarvis, as regard back to school, check your backyard. Our leaders are so wicked. GPS, Munya, Group 1 and 2, the retired head teachers who have lived on those houses till retirement and has moved in their well-built houses. Instead of giving it free to other colleagues, they are renting the buildings out. That's very bad. You say you are Mami Ange from Liongo. Liongo. I don't know if what you are saying, you have facts to what you are saying. Those are your opinions and you are responsible for them. This other one says, good evening to you guys in the studio. Nice discussion. Security should not only be at the level of big people. They should secure institutions like Apostle Ambe rightly said. You didn't sign your message. Please try to sign your message. You say you are Glenn Asong writing from Kumba. From my view, I think the police should do their best in securing the citizens rather than taking bribes on major highways. Those are some of the messages that we have received so far. Let's go on this commercial break. When we come back, we continue with the second part of the program, which has to do with the outing of Anglophone bishops at the one-week conclave in Kumba, Meme division of the Southwest region.
The university that guarantees employment with 3 campuses offers professional training for French and English speakers in HND, Bachelor Masters, while providing free transportation for its students. It trains in several fields: agriculture and food sciences, medical and biomedical sciences, civil engineering, graphic design, renewable energy, corporate communication, journalism, food technology, networks and telecommunications, computer engineering, accountancy, petroleum logistics, management, business and finance, nature management and protection, gastronomy arts, RST. Transportation is free, internet free. See you at the Nyom and Omnisport campuses in Yaounde. Contact 679-22-5887, 698-844487.
RST, University of the Future for Diploma Employment Guarantee.
Welcome back, televiewers. If you're just joining us, you're watching Prime Hour on My Media Prime Television, where we've been so far discussing the Back to School 2023, part 1 of Back to School 2023. We are talking about security meeting that was held in Yaounde yesterday, chaired by Defense Boss Joseph Betty Asomo in preparation of Back to School 2023. Of course, we know that students and pupils in Cameroon will hit the classrooms come September 4, 2023, and a security meeting to that effect took place in Yaounde, and that was an opportunity for top defense and security officials across the national territory to strategize on how the 2023-2024 school year will go smoothly without any hitches. And of course, we are on our second topic tonight that has to do with the Anglophone bishops who met in Kumba, Meme division of the Southwest region of Cameroon. They have condemned what they term some compatriots using ethnic differences to tear the country apart. They also frown at the high level of malpractices when it comes to the General Certificate of Education examination, GCE, the results this year. The bishop says something has to be done to remedy this or the situation of those social ills in the country. And we are back in the studio. This time around, we go to Yaounde to meet our third resource person who is on Skype. Donna is joining us this evening. Good evening and welcome, sir.
Good evening, Lasha. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can get you 5 on 5.
Can you hear me?
Good evening and welcome.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yes, we are getting you right on. We are on the second part of the program.
Okay. I am saying that I'm excited to be part of the
church is universal, and the church is apolitical and non-partisan. And the bishops of the Bamenda Ecclesiastic Province, Babek, gathered with one voice. They are the voice of the voiceless. And having looked at the situation, gave their resolutions. And it is true that we have been witnessing an increase in xenophobic utterances, either at the level of those in suits, at the level of those in the football field, at the level of those in media houses, and at the level of those in the bushes. And so it was very normal for the bishops to come together and play the role that they are supposed to play by calling the attention and raising the issue that things should be done. But my question is, how speedy will things be done? You remember that if the bishop had been taken very seriously, you remember that if the bishops had been taken very seriously, we would not have had this Anglophone crisis.
When is a bishop taken seriously, or if they were serious?
No, if the bishop had been taken
seriously by the government.
By the government.
Okay.
We would never had moved to an armed conflict, because the bishops, before the conflict, had been warning that something is happening. There is need for social justice. You remember when there is social injustice, you will have situations like this. And so therefore the bishops are calling on the fact that things should be done. And if you look at what is happening in terms of xenophobic utterances, what is the cause? What is the problem? I like looking at the root cause of these problems. The root cause of these problems still boils down to the Anglophone crisis, the manner in which the government is resolving the Anglophone crisis, pitting it a particular ethnic group versus another ethnic group crisis, but not solving it as Cameroonians. As it stands, the crisis seemingly to, in all fairness, belongs to one particular ethnic group, profiling. And this is wrong. Wrong because as Cameroonians, we're all bound by peace, work, fatherland. We're all bound by instilling them the love of gentle ways on the second standard of the anthem. And so therefore we must move aside from our personal issues and tribal bases. So my point here is, the bishops, I am very sorry, my lords, your positions are good, but the level of implementation, those in power will not respect it, because a lot of those who are in power, who ought to put in mechanisms to look into what people have raised, are using this situation for their political gains. The question is, who benefits from these xenophobic utterances? The men in suits, in high places. They benefit. How do they benefit? By elitism, political elitism. They go to their villages and say, "Na me and make and papa win this thing. So when I get for look me as papa, now because of me as I go now, so papa go do am. When I see the man for this side, if they take all things out of a village." We have moved from a particular system where Professor Kingsley Lungalangange, in his guest speaker discussion in the Catholic University, say transformational leadership in an uncertain society, the way out of Cameroon's quagmire. He called it a quagmire in Cameroon. And in that, see Lasha, in this country, Senior Apostle Ambe will agree. When somebody asks you what is your name, and you say, my name is Jarvis, the person will ask you the other name. The person is not asking you the other name to know. The person is asking the other name to know whether he should smile with you or not. And when you say my name is Tah Mai Jarvis, and he coincidentally comes from Menchum, he smiles. He says, wow, he takes you in a different pedestal. But that tells you how far we have gone. We don't greet people to know their country name because we want to know them, but want to profile them. And that is wrong. And we have not had harsh punishment against xenophobia or chances. All the time we have had men in suit propagating xenophobia for all chances. What has been done? So nothing will be done. My lords have just gathered. They have played the role of Archbishop Desmond Tutu in South Africa, in which he said we cannot delude ourselves by singing hallelujah, in which our children are being judged by the color of their skins and are being judged by the ethnic region that they come from, that we cannot delude ourselves by singing hallelujah. So my lords are stating that it's not only hallelujah that the government must come in, but the question now I'm asking is, who benefits from this? The person who is supposed to implement this is benefiting from it. So will the person solve it? It will just become an ordinary chorus.
Jarvis, you talked about men in suit. We've had some lawmakers, I will not want to call their names here, that they have come out openly and some kind of utterances that they have advanced, which compromise this living together and social cohesion that the bishops are talking about. How do you punish the person, the very person that is making the law? How would that be done? How should that be tackled?
Excuse me.
A lawmaker who is championing or
Lasha.
flying the flag
Lasha.
of these ethnic differences.
A while ago, I made mention of the fact that we are in a country ruled by maybe. Maybe he will be punished, maybe he may not.
Jarvis, can you
There are
get serious,
procedures.
please?
No, I'm getting serious.
Get serious, please.
Where you see, this Cameroon is a comedy. Sometimes things are comedy. You cannot explain. How do you explain the fact that those who are supposed to be lawmakers go and make xenophobia all chances? The first time we were told by that we misquoted some of them, even with the audio that we misquoted them. Now we saw it, and you still tell us it's misquoting. There's an impeachment procedures in the House of Parliament, Senate, that carry out trial for their lawmakers who breaks the law. So what happened is the same procedures we have in Cameroon. But let me ask you, which of those will be respected?
No,
when you have,
we've had one MP
impeach.
Yes, the immunity was uplifted and he was sentenced. An MP in Gokutunja, I think South.
You are talking about Honorable
Gagbanye, the second, who is of late now. He was alleged to have killed somebody. His immunity was uplifted.
I agree with you.
He was sentenced by the Ngokutunja
that
High
case.
Court.
Don't forget that case was also described that it had a political undertone.
No, but we don't care to know whether.
No, Lasha, that's the issue with Cameroon. You should care.
The fact is that he was alleged. It was alleged that he killed somebody. The court found.
From Boya Kuma Road every day. Is it not worse than for those guys that kill one person? I'm not saying the one person life is not important. Don't misquote me. I'm looking at the general spectrum. Let us call it red when it's red. These are financial terrorists who embezzle money, found guilty. Then how much money has been retrieved? What did they do with their parliamentary grant that was given to them? 9 million or so. What did they do with it? How many of them even go to their constituencies and talk with their people as we speak? How many of them even know that there are no electricity in their constituency? You were here, you anchored the program here. Some people were telling them in Donga and Mantum division that have MPs, not MP. They have been for 6 years without light. In Menchum division, they have been for years without light. Go to other divisions in Cameroon. We cannot delude ourselves by playing patriotism under the cause of the fact that people are dying. Nobody is more of a Cameroonian than others. Me, I want the best for this nation. I have just one home, Cameroon. And whenever I travel, I know that I have Cameroon. When I went to Kenya, they call me, they say, hey, I'm proud of being a Cameroonian. They are not proud of the act being carried out by Cameroonians against Cameroonians. Some people live in this country as though they are
Apostle Ambe, is it bad to be tribalistic? Is it bad to be tribalistic? Are you not supposed to be proud of your tribe?
Tribalism is not a crime. What is a crime is nepotism. Tribalism was initiated by God. 12 sons came out of the loins of Jacob, and God named them tribes. So God was the initiator of tribalism. And if God initiated tribalism, it means it's an identity. What we have as a challenge is nepotism and racism. Racism is discrimination against a kind, while tribalism is discrimination within a kind. But now nepotism is the higher dimension of tribalism, where it becomes self-centered, greed, and covetousness takes over. So God is not against tribalism. That's the reason why parliamentarians are represented in particular constituency based on tribes. So we are not fighting the idea of tribalism because it can never be fought. It's a reality. It's an acceptable reality that nobody should deny it. You see, we keep saying that tribalism as if it's a crime. It's not a crime. The problem is nepotism, and the problem is racism. So if at all somebody comes in a particular community, the first thing is that you cannot tell me that in that entire community there's nobody as competent as somebody from another community. We cannot have the entire Bambalang without having a journalist there. So if I want to look for a journalist, a Bambalang man, I should start first from home. We are the ones who say charity begins at home. Another word for tribalism is charity. It begins at home. So I should look someone from Bambalang first, except I don't have somebody competent in Bambalang. That's when I can look somebody outside. Nepotism is when there is no competent person in Bambalang, yet I still choose a dons from Bambal. You understand? So what we are suffering in Cameroon is not a matter of tribalism. We have seen people who cannot read or write, but because they are coming from a tribe, we choose to forgo someone who is not from that tribe and who can do the job and force someone because the person came matter. So that's the abuse of tribalism, which is not nepotism. Positioning incompetent people based on your ethnicity, not based on their competence to handle the job. So the nation is sick, not because we don't have competent people, but because people have taken the subject of tribalism and abused it. That's what the problem is. Now,
is it bad for me to come out and defend my tribe? I say, no, Tah Mai Jarvis, you coming from Menchum, I cannot allow you to destroy Ngokitunja.
You have the right.
Is it bad for me, Apostle?
It's not a wrong thing. It's not a wrong thing. See, tribalism is not a crime. I'm passing it across to every ear hearing me today. It's not a crime. The thing that is a crime is nepotism. What is a crime is racism. Racism is hatred for another race. It's discrimination for another race. But I said that modern day Pan-Africanism is not despise for the white, it's not hatred or malice against the white man. It's working alongside with the white man, yet defending the interests of Africa. And that's the reason why I'll be in London this month end to speak some things concerning Africa, and I'm going to defend the interests of Africa. I'm sure those who are inviting me and watching me, I'll have to defend the interests of Africa. Now, when you say you are coming from Meta, and you are appointed in a position where they need somebody in a particular responsibility, and my friend, you will have to go back home first. You will go back home and check in Metaland, except you don't have somebody who is good at that thing at Metaland, because every people want to develop their community. Do you know what it means for everyone to have a means of livelihood in the community? It increases rapid growth in that community. So we cannot deny it. This hatred now for other tribes that come to stay in your land is what we don't like. Support your tribe without hating another tribe. You get what I'm saying? I can come from Boya, and there's a job opportunity, I will select someone from Boya, but I should not hate somebody who is not from Boya that lives in Boya.
That respects the rules.
This is where we abuse and respect.
But if the person is giving you trouble,
if the person is giving
you trouble, headache.
If the person is giving you trouble, the laws of the nation affects every tribe. But when you have personal bitterness, the law will take care of you, whether you are in your tribe or not. A Babalang man that gives trouble in Babalang, the same law in the nation will hold him like a Bafut man that gives trouble in Babalang. But when you accuse a man from Bafut because it's not from Bambalang, that one is no longer an issue of the law. It's an issue of bitterness and anger and hatred against a particular people because they are not from your tribe. You understand what I'm trying to say? So we don't understand the structure of tribalism. If somebody is coming from my tribe and is competent and I have an opportunity, I will put the person first there. But you see, I cannot be in my village. A stranger comes to settle. I hate the person because the person is progressing in my land. That one is no longer tribalism, it's witchcraft. People have graduated from the word tribalism and entered into witchcraft because somebody is succeeding in your land. Am I the one who told you not to succeed in your land? You are just being foolish. You are not competent. So if somebody comes, like the Jews, you go to South Africa. When a Jew enters to South Africa, bam, as he lands, the first thing the Jew do is to put him aside and they ask him, what do you think you can do? I want to enter into Microsoft, into IT. They will gather money as Jews, 100 million, give to him. Boom, within some few years he has exploded. He gathers that money and give back to him. They're waiting for the next Jew to enter. That's what we talk about. People working in signage to build their community. But now, if the South Africans, positive tribalism. If a South African now gets angry because a Jew is succeeding in South Africa, it's not tribalism, it's witchcraft. So you tell me that we have collected all our lands, they are built in a house. Did they steal? They didn't steal your land. You sold the land to them. You didn't know how to use the land. They took it and used it better than you in your own place. That is why I tell people that the bank is a meeting point between the poor and the rich. The poor man comes to save because he has money with that vision. But the rich man comes to collect money because he has a vision bigger than the money he has. So when the rich man comes and gather, the poor gather and give to the rich to do business. That's why that's all about banking. It's a meeting point between the poor and the rich. The poor man has money without any vision. The rich man has vision bigger than his money. So poor men gather all and give to him, he goes and does it. It's the same thing will come to your life. You don't know the value of the land. We buy the land, engage into it, and then prosper. You're now hatred against me, not because I'm coming from another tribe, but because I'm succeeding in the land you do not have value for. That is not tribalism, it is witchcraft. We should be able to call these things the way they are. If a man from east comes to the northwest and begins to build all kinds of big buildings there, and then the residents say he has come and so, it's like the South Africans are angry that a Zimbabwean is a doctor in their country. A truck pusher says they have taken his job. How can a medical doctor take the job of a truck pusher in South Africa?
that is witchcraft in monumental proportion.
That's it.
But Apostle, there are laws that punish these or punish people who champion ethnic differences.
Of course.
Yes, to tamper with social cohesion. Why are the laws not being implemented in Cameroon? Is it because of the people who are doing it, because it cuts across all the, whether those that are being manipulated by the big people or the big people themselves?
No, it has to do with democracy. Democracy is a system of government that has three different compartments. The first is the rule of law. There's a difference between the rule of law and rule by law. The rule of law is when everybody is equal before the law. Rule by law is when a few persons hijack the law and impose on individuals who do not have rights in the society. Most African countries are ruled by law. They are not operating under the rule of law. Number two, democracy power is shared. Executive, legislative, judiciary. But in the society where we live, we don't have such sharing of power. It is the executive that decides what the judiciary and legislative will say. Then lastly, the will of the people. We live in a society where the will of the people doesn't count. I define democracy as when the people have the government. Dictatorship is when the government have the people. In most countries in Africa, we have a group of people who are the government, they own the people. Why it is the people that's supposed to have. Why do I say so? 4 million Togolese entered into the streets of Lomé to fight against Fure Nasingbe, that he will not become president. Elections were conducted a few months later. The same person that everyone contested, not the president, won the election. Is it bats and rats? Is it mosquitoes and cockroaches? Is it ants and flies that gathered at the polling stations to vote for Ambe when the masses refused him? Where did he get voters from? It's to let you understand that the will of the people no longer counts. So when we have a society where we don't have rule of law, we are ruled by the law is favoring the few persons who are in suits. That's the reason why, with all the laws put in place against xenophobic attacks and tribalism and all whatnot, it doesn't pay any value on the people who violate it. If it was a common man in the streets, the law will apply. That's the reason why when you go to court, I said to the church yesterday, I said, the rich rule over the poor. A borrower is a slave to the lender. Those who lead are not intelligent, they are rich.
So in democracy in Africa, like
we don't have democracy in Africa. We have a mixture we have a mixture of
it's government of some people by some people and for some people.
No, Africa doesn't have democracy. Africa has collected all governments and formed their own. We don't yet know the name. There's a little of Marxism, monarchy, socialism, a pinch of democracy and communism. So when you combine all this together, you cannot have an octopus kind of government where you don't have the name. We are still to find what is operating in Africa. There's no democracy here. You go somewhere, there's a pinch of communism and a portion of democracy, a little patch of monarchy, a little of socialism, then some fiefdoms and kingdoms and chiefdoms. When they apply all this government, you cannot be able now to form a word that describes the system of government that is taking place in most African countries. We don't have democracy here.
It's like we have a rough melange. For example, within the senatorial perspective, we borrow from US and take from France. The US, you vote your MPs, right? Your senators, right? And in Cameroon, you vote some senators and you appoint some senators. In France, you take appointment, you take this one and you blend, right? Come out to even the method in which the senators are elected, indirect universal suffrage. Why they don't want to give the people the powers to select their senators? Because
they give you the power from the beginning. You have to start somewhere
Lasha,
before you get to where.
If the people have the powers, like we will go and cast
you have to vote for your municipal councillors.
Lasha, you and I know how these things are done. Lasha, in 2018, I was in Moya. During that period, the divisional officer was going to supervise an election in Moya Court area. The convoy was attacked around Mankame Junction. I want to ask you, who are those that actually went to that polling station and voted to have that number of votes that were counted? Was it rat, cockroaches, the wind, the air, the sea, the breeze that went to the polling station and casted their ballot? And that same people who have been votely appointed, go and sit and now vote the senators in the college. And you say the will of the people voted the senators. So what we are saying is, a democracy in Cameroon is a rough melange of fascism, Marxism, socialists, and even traditionalists.
Yes.
Because at one point that we even go traditional.
No, it's traditional because the leaders sometimes stay for 50 years in power. That's a fandom.
It's not. But is it bad? Even in the West, the queen just died.
No, that's what called parliament. I said
before then the queen or the king in England used to wield a lot of power.
It's a parliament.
It's after time that the powers were reduced.
Good. Thank God you say after time. Our own has not reached after time.
I've not even reached after time.
We are just 100 years old.
It's not the issue of just. I have a problem with people looking at that calculation of
how old is Dubai? Just.
How
old is Indonesia?
Dubai is 50 years.
How old is Indonesia? Just.
I don't want
how
to
old is Malaysia?
I have a problem with this just.
We are in the just.
Let us not look at the system and bring just. When did human being started existing on this earth? We look at the existence. Don't look at the systems. The Ethiopia.
You want to compare a 300 democracy?
Excuse me.
300 years old democracy with
Lasha,
60
the
years
Manikap
old
Empire is
democracy?
where was the Manikap Empire?
Because we are tapping your experience from the Western
where was the Manikap Empire before the Europeans scrambled for Africa? Were Africa not developing? Let us go in retrospect. Let us keep aside this constitution, this Western definition of system of governance. Governance has existed before colonization in Cameroon. We had the system that worked. We had King Bell and King Aqua. we had Manga Williams, we had we had from Gadiga, we had Lord Prizo. We can keep calling. There were many. They interacted. They developed, they built their roads. They had a method of communication. It's the system that was implanted that has made us look at just. We are 60 years. We don't call it just. When we regain independence, I'm not talking about gaining our independence because we are gaining the independence. Let's come to the topic. Going back to that topic. Who benefits now? The bishops should know.
Yes, that's what I wanted to ask. In whose interests are these ethnic differences?
The bishops knows the truth. They know that it benefits the many suit. If today Tah Jarvis stand and make
the bishop also clean? Because those are people.
The bishops are clean.
They are being given money by President Paul Biya. No, there's a certain amount that they give them.
Yes.
Paul Biya give them.
Lasha, no system is.
That's what I'm asking.
No system is independent. Where no country is independent. There's a difference between independence and the interdependence. Cameroon, there's what called, like interdependence come with absolute cost advantage and comparative cost advantage in international trade. America deals with China. Interdependence with China. There's some goods that Chinese supplies, some good that America supplies. Yeah. Interdependence. But what we are saying is that we are not even interdependent.
We are dependent.
In that world we are dependent. What you are saying about the money, the church is an institution.
Are they not just talking? Because
Lasha,
you said that
Lasha, the bishop.
If they had listened, if the government had listened to the bishops way back,
yes,
we wouldn't have found ourselves where
His Eminence Christian Kazinatum.
That's what I'm saying. That the bishops, are they also clean?
They are clean.
Paul Biya gives them money.
No, they are clean. Lasha, your ID card is subsidized by President Paul Biya. Are you dirty?
Jarvis. That
Lasha,
kind of example is a very.
You received 50,000 while you were in University of Boya, given by President Paul Biya. Are you dirty? Lasha, President Paul Biya in the magnanimity signed bills that people benefit from in Cameroon. Are we dirty? We cannot say everybody, if we go by that analogy, everybody is guilty as charged.
Yes, everybody is dirty.
Everybody is guilty as charged.
Which I'm not.
We cannot go by that analogy. I received 50,000 year 1, year 2 in university. Are you saying I'm dirty? I will not criticize what is wrong.
Excellent. You excel so well.
So the bishops too are receiving the money for their excellence in granting peace and security from the spiritual perspective.
Okay.
Let's come out to the topic on itself. I want to say this: the who benefit if Tah Jarvis today make a xenophobic on chance, I'll be arrested and sent in an undisclosed location, incommunicado.
Of course,
that's fact.
So
who benefit are the men in suit, because they know what we come and say like this. Papa will see that. I want to use their word. Papa go see and say, will you protect Papa interest? Because they said that and they bring President Paul Biya in front. They don't say that without bringing President Paul Biya in front. That Papa don't struggle for bring peace for some people want to spoil them, so we not go agree as Papa don't talk. So you see that it benefits them. But Jarvis will come and say, Jarvis will be arrested incommunicado. Another aspect of who benefit, we cannot delude ourselves by coming here and telling Cameroonians lies. Who benefit are those who are political elite, who don't want the common person in their locality to grow, because they know when they come and say like that, the people who, there's what we call the sentiment, will buy into that sentiment, the bandwagon effect, like the French anti-French sentiment now. Even a dictator just say I am against France, the people will just support him because they hate France. So they look at the fact that the people at one point in time want an appointment, like Apostle was saying, that if the Eli will promise that don't bother, as this opportunity comes, I'll pick you. So when the Eli makes a statement, you support. He wins favor from Yaounde. But should that be the norms? We are building a building that will crash. We cannot build a nation of false pretext and false premise, and we have to call the spade a spade. Those who are making those xenophobic utterances today, they are untouchable. But they should know that there will come a time when they will go on retirement.
Okay.
The rascals that they met in the quarters will be the one to give them insecurity. If you are a minister, you have money to develop, you don't develop. You push the people to the street.
they'll retaliate.
Apostle Ambe Valentine, is the population so dumb that these people will come and say anything and they will just buy into their idea without selecting between the good and the bad, tapping from the perspective of the realities of things on the ground? Why should people be buying into an idea they know is wrong, is not true?
The potency of an information determines the content it came out from. The container also. There are people who can speak lies and everybody believe. Because leadership is influence. There is a way you influence people. There are things, if I say here, they will make no impact. But if a minister stays, he will make impact. There are things, if I say it will not mean anything. If the president speaks, it will make a meaning. It is the same information but coming from two different containers. The reason why people are easily carried is because, first and foremost, they look up to somebody as a leader. Number two, the person appears in a smokescreen image that is coming to protect their interests. And everybody wants somebody and a leader who can speak for them. So to them, they have finally gotten a voice for themselves, somebody who is defending their interests. That is why they don't even bother to find out how authentic the information is or how valuable the information is. They just jump into conclusion because they believe that somebody has reason to fight and defend them. It's the same thing with leadership. Once people believe in you, trust in you, and count on you, people have called me on this platform several times and say, please, the level at which Cameroonians believe you and Africans look up to you, mind the way you speak. That is my personality. I may say something, it will influence people negatively. But somebody may say that same thing and it makes no meaning. It has to do with the personality. So the reason why the masses sometimes are carried away is when they have looked up to somebody as an influencer, a leader, and a pathfinder. So when he speaks, they don't even go to find out whether he's saying it or not. Especially when the content of the information tries to defend and protect them. This is our own man that God has sent. This is our Moses that God has sent to deliver us from the hands of these wicked Egyptians. So it is easier for such a person to influence the crowd to respond to whatever they say.
So now, this call by Bishop, will it yield fruit?
Yes, it will.
They are throwing water on the deck's back?
No, it will not. They are not throwing water on the deck's back. As a matter of fact, the bishop by themselves are personalities. They lead dioceses, and those dioceses are the same people who are walking in the street. And those dioceses, those individuals look up to those bishops first as people who represent God on earth. And secondly, even if the government does not take measures, the bishops are in one way sending information indirectly to the people they lead that we don't like this system of life. So if people can sit on a Sunday and listen to what the bishop says in church and believe it, how will it look like when bishops come together and in the mind they are speaking on behalf of God? Those same congregants will listen to those bishops and say, God is speaking to us, we should adjust. Because even if the government does not take measure, the personalities of those who are fighting this thing are so heavy in such a way that their information cannot be dumped to the refuse bin. They cannot. The bishops are already, first of all, a personality, and first of all, they are a group of persons that people respect and hold in very high esteem. So with that, the government even engaging measures to make sure what they have said come to pass. Their personality has a way of influencing a lot of people because those people are in their diocese.
Okay, let's take some few messages, Apostle Ambe, and this one is addressed to you. For once, I have to disagree with Apostle Ambe. Tribalism is when you judge people on the basis of their tribes and not their character or ability. It is a tribal vision of racism, or version of racism, and should be discouraged. So he is saying whichever tribe the president comes from should occupy all important jobs if they are qualified. That's the question he's asking you. Hilarious people should adhere to their tribes for cultural purposes and not as a discriminatory tool. Emerence is writing from Bamenda.
No, Emerence, to a point of correction, you are dealing with a personality that has to cover the entire regions of the country. The president is a geopolitician. And in geopolitics, you cannot take a single tribe which is a minority and influence the entire community. If the president wants the attention from those from the north, he must influence them by giving them responsibilities. If he wants those from nowhere, so that's the reason why he brings all the 10 regions under a single control. We are talking about a particular clan, a community you come from. That's why we're talking about tribalism. It's not about president. President is somebody that heads a nation. His few persons from his tribe cannot be able to put him in power. So he's a geopolitician that can be that uses his position to make sure he harnesses all the 10 regions of the country and bring under a single control. That's why you see almost every region of the country is represented at the level of the national bureau, because the president is running a nation, he's not running a community. Please, you should be able to understand this little how do I put it, discrepancies.
Okay, this other message. Good evening to you all, sir. Please, Cameroon is made up of people who greed have taken over them. Like now we have a problem in my two Limbe because of root. The delegate want to use waterway to turn a route because he want to favor his tribe man. A delegate will talk openly that they are Bakwarians, so the other man must suffer because he is not from the Bakwari tribe. People are using their office to intimidate others until he's asking the site plan to change and favor his tribe. You say you are Mami, you say Mami what? Mami P writing from Uyuka. Please try to sign your messages with the correct name that we can read. Good evening to you all in the studio. The program is very interesting. I learned a lot when great men like the panelists on set. Thank you for this program. Please, I would like to get Apostle Ambe's contact if he won't mind. You say you are HN from Buya. You are writing from Buya. Apostle Ambe is seated right here. We'll send the number after the program. Jesus had 3 brothers as disciples from the 12 disciples. So, tribalism should not be a crime. Apostle Ambe was right in his discussion. This is Bache Adamu Maurice writing from Bamenda. We continue with the messages. This other one that came in. For once, I have to disagree. We read this already. The message is repeating itself. Thanks so much, Apostle Ambe and Jarvis. The truth shall always set us free. God bless you guys in the studio. Marsu from Bamenda. So yeah, Marsu. Hello, Lasha. We need from the bishops to pray for the real leader of the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon to come out from their hideouts to speak to the population, because Etudi has given out that power long ago. You say you're Max Bekwengi from, you're writing from Germany. You're right, writing us from Germany. Thank you for your message. This other one, good evening. Almost all politicians in Africa are using this philosophy of ethnic differences to disunite people in their various countries, and this make people to vote based on tribal sentiment. This issue of tribalism has made Africa lagged behind a lot. You say you are Bukaka Jawo writing from Gambia. You're writing from the Gambia. Good evening to you guys in the studio. You say good evening to you all in the studio. If the GCA board had adequate evidences against the fraudsters, then they deserve the sanctions. Examination malpractices must be avoided entirely. Sam James is writing from Tinto, I think is in the southwest region of Cameroon. Yes, Apostle Ambe, we continue with the discussions in the studio. Now, the bishops also stressed during their meeting that the value of the general certificate of education is falling.
Yes.
They decried or they raised an alarm concerning the rate of malpractices that were recorded this year. Yes. They are calling on the authorities to do something to that.
You know, the entire educational Anglo-Saxon structure of education has been destabilized since after the crisis. It has not been the way it used to be, and it has greatly affected the modus operandi of the GC education. When we used to write the GC, that flair and grandeur is no longer there. It got so bad that last year I think they were taking 28 or 30 for C grade, something we never experienced in our days. If you do not have 45, 47, you could not score a C in O levels in those days. But this time around, the thing has been reduced, watered down to the level where sometimes 30, 35, 28 is C grade. That is to tell you, understand that the values of the examination, the values are no longer there, and it's very serious. And you and I know that things we don't have to prop into. Part of the reason why we stepped into the Anglophone crisis, because the teachers rose and started petitioning certain things they were not comfortable with, and as a result of that, hard measures were used against them. They were cracked down, and because of that, it led us to where we are today. But some of the things were answered, but a lot of things have been destabilized in the system of education. I've met teachers, I've spoken with them. A true Anglo-Saxon teacher will tell that the values of the Anglo-Saxon education is no longer in place as far as it used to be in the past. Well, Those who are teaching know better what I'm talking about, and that's the reason why you see that our most prestigious general civic education examination, which used to be the litmus test to ascertain the IQ of a child in the Anglo-Saxon education, is no longer of any value anymore, and it's really, really, really serious. That's the reason why a lot of malpractices are taking place, and this thing, like this malpractice of a thing, is like a copy and paste stuff. An entire A-level center was banned this year in Tiku because of malpractice.
So what explains this upsurge in the rate of malpractices?
It is because the values of the values of the examination have been reduced.
Lasha,
What explains this?
What explains? Digress a bit from what my father is saying. I don't want to look at it solely from education. When the center can no longer hold, that's a simple thing, because it is not just exam.
No, let's focus on exam.
I know.
No, let's focus on the GC. That's one of the aspects of what the bishops they said.
What caused it is corruption, right?
Yes, corruption. That's what we're asking. Why?
What brought this corruption to this system?
Happened? What actually happened with this new twist? We've had the GCE board there. Things were moving on well.
People are not being sanctioned the way they ought to, because somebody benefits from the leaks. This is not new. It has just intensified. It's not new that GC is being leaked. If the president's speech can leak, do you know that the president's speech leaked?
But for the GC, you have a setting A, B, and C.
Lasha.
If you leaked one setting, another setting will be taken. So even when the other setting is broad, we still have leakages.
Who controls this? The person that leak A, right, is still the person that will bring B for it to be written. It's still the person that will bring C for it to be written. It's still the person that will bring D for it to be written. I remember in 2008 there was a leak, and that affected a paper that we were writing at O levels. We had to rewrite that paper. In fact, we rewrote that paper at the moment where it was still hot. When they brought it, it was still hot. So it's not new. But what is annoying is that adequate sanctions has not been given to those perpetrating this.
No, how can you say that it's an understatement? Because
I said adequate. I did not say sanction.
The number of schools and individuals, including examiners.
I repeat, adequate sanction. I use the word adequate. I'm not saying sanctions were not given. I said adequate sanction, which means to some extent sanctions were given. They're adequate. Also come now to the level in which we have watered down the school system. You tell us that if students perpetrate violence on teachers and they are not being punished, so the teachers say, okay, we are not being. How much is in the salaries of these teachers in terms of the GC
how much
period?
Was the salary of the other the teachers who have been teaching
Lasha,
for many years?
Times. Lasha, you bear with me that you used to pay fare, taxi fare, senior apostle, 200. It moved to 250. Now we are talking about 300. What is the salary index? That's why I say I will look at it from a perspective. There's a push factor, Lasha, to this. There's a push. Lasha, those who are coordinating these exams, how much are they being paid for as allowances for exam coordination? Do you know why they pay bankers huge amount of money, accountants in banks huge amount of money? They should not be tempted to steal. They should not be tempted to do unorthodox things. That's why people in some offices, in some situations, they are well remunerated. So I'm not saying it should be a factor to these people to say exams. What I'm saying is that it begins from it's a whole network that begins from the quarters right up to school.
Jarvis, the question should be not disciplining the students who had leaked exams. Who leaked the exams?
That's my problem. That's what I'm saying.
That why this new twist?
Yes,
we have never had it before.
Students,
this malpractices,
yes,
that is on the offset.
Because
when you hear the bishops complaining, it means that
it's critical.
It's critical.
Yes, the issue is children or students will never know exam before time until teachers leak the exams to them. Disciplining the children isn't a cure.
It's not a cure.
Who is the person that brought the exams today, knowing of the children? That is a question we should be asking here. And the person that's supposed to be disciplined rather is the person that exposed the exam to the student before time.
So where do these teachers see the exam? Because sometimes we have them by electronic means. They are shared on WhatsApp platforms, messengers, and whatever.
Exams are typed in Yaounde. Exams are assembled in Yaounde. They are dispatched to different delegations, regional delegations of each region. So if at all those exams leave the regional delegation and come down to the level where students know, the delegation should be answerable. The regional delegate of that region should be the one to explain how the exams left the regional delegation to come down to the level where students began knowing. The entire staff of that entire particular delegation should be brought to book. The teachers of the institution where the exams leaked should be brought to book. And I don't see why children should be sanctioned for a whole year. I think they should have done something to give them new exams to write within the short possible period of time. Why they investigate the individuals included? Because stream from the bottom of the stream. You have to go to the source of the stream to deal with it. Because if not, we are still going to have the same challenges in the next coming years. How can students be disciplined for an exam that was leaked to them?
You sit on your own.
Who are the people who leaked it?
But they tell you as a child, we are talking about adults, because at the age of 16, 18, 20, you are already considered as an adult.
That is true.
You know the rules of the game. You are given the question, you accept.
Lasha, Lasha.
Let me answer you. The complexity of this whole issue is there's a temptation for everybody to pass. There is that temptation for everyone to pass an exam. And I cannot have an opportunity to pass an exam rather not to delay my education. I don't take it. If you are found in that shoe, you will do the same, because nobody wants to repeat the class and everybody wants to obtain a certificate tomorrow. Nobody wants to be left out in the society as an unschooled individual. So the issue is, I've had the opportunity. Why don't I embrace it? After all, I'm not the originator of the crime. So you don't expect a student will see an exam and don't gladly collect it. First and foremost, do they even know that it will leak tomorrow? There are many years that exams have leaked and no sanctions were taken.
Do they even know if he's giving the re-exam that was?
Do they know? That's the issue.
Because this is it. When
we're writing O levels and A levels, do we come and tell speckles? That is the exam. You focus and read that rubbish and all. If you do not read very, if people do not read that, what is speckle?
It's true.
You're talking as if you did not school in this country. You did school in this country. No, they'll just come to where you parade. It's
based on it's based on a certain trend. We are talking about how, some of the examiners are they are experienced examiners, so they know based on their calculations.
Now, people can guess coincidentally, and then certain things, like when I was writing O levels, I used to teach the students. I was writing exams and teaching the same students in the same class. All the poems I gave in Sheldon Book of Verse came. That was just an inspiration. I had no exams anywhere. Now, explain this, that people will answer 5 questions so perfect. No, inside the 5 questions that come, they say answer 3. At least you will be able to catch 2 or catch 1 that is effective. That the entire class, even the ones you know are not competent, sweep everything. Something is wrong.
Okay.
Something is wrong. When they steal, you know they steal.
Lasha, these students did not break into GC board.
You are jumping and going right to
these
GC
students. No, Lasha, I'm coming. Senior Apostle. These students did not break into GC board to get the questions. These students did not put knife or gun in front of a lecturer or a teacher's neck for this result to be leaked to them. Why punishing them? Punish the originator. The moment teachers in that section, a new exam would have been given to these students, then now all the teachers in that school, the examiners in that school, are investigated and sanctioned.
Where would the resources come from now?
The state has resources. Let me tell you, I said it in one of your platforms that when you are doing an exam, you should prepare budget also for litigations. Prepare budget also for litigations. That's why our offices have a legal counsel. You don't just prepare and you say you keep your budget. Every office prepare budget also for litigations. That's why we have miscellaneous budget. When you just do a tight budget and when litigation comes, you say there's no money, there should be money for litigations. What in case in future we have a legal issue? That's the mistake that some companies do, especially startup. They do a budget, they don't keep the money for litigation. And when they run out into a conflict in court, they start struggling to pay lawyers to say we don't have money.
Okay.
So what we are saying is, The people in Tico, CKC, that school, I'm sure it was CKC or a particular school like that. Anyway, let me not call name. If a school has a leaked document and it's proven, those boys and girls should be given a different paper, and the chief examiner, those associated who brought the script, the papers to that locality, should be arrested, interrogated, and if they are guilty, then that's where the law comes in. The law is no respecter of tribe, origin, or village, or size, or height, or sex. So if they are guilty, you punish them. Why punishing this kid? And I've always advocated. I know it may sound upset, and I'm unapologetic for this. There should be a receipt for GCE. I've always said this: a receipt where students should not be compelled to go to another academic year because they failed a particular paper, not to have 3. They had 1 instead of 2.
You know, we are copying from the example of London. Is it what?
No, London has 2 sessions. They have 2 sessions.
Ambe, is it what happens?
No, they have 2 sessions.
I know you wrote London GCE. Some of us will know.
Lasha, we can innovate. You will never see those in US spend 1 year. That's a circle. There's a session. There's a first exam session, second exam session.
For the secondary school?
There is first exam session, second exam session.
Our educational pattern here is too long and too stressful. When you go to Europe and other parts of the world, the programs are very, very short. That means they can do like GC twice a year.
Yes.
Yes. Not this now when you fail, you have to wait for another 9 months again. No. That's why before we leave school in Africa, we're already old.
And that explains why people fraud won't do everything. Because there is one opportunity.
Okay,
I am unapologetic for the I will still say there should be a receipt for GCE like we do in the university.
Let me take some messages. Good evening to everyone in the studio. Actually, this issue of insecurity in schools today is all about parental and environmental responsibilities. Children these days have been left to grow like stray animals without a shepherd. And of course, during our days, children growing up, every senior person in the community was entitled to discipline a child at any given time in an act of disorder or indiscipline. Today's parents have failed, just as the saying goes, charity begins at home. A parent who refuses to discipline his or her child should be prepared for disgrace and shame. You didn't tell us your name and where you're writing us from. Good evening to you all in the studio. I don't only like my mentor, Apostle Ambe, but I love him. I, for one, I understood very well his definitions. Go ahead, sir, please, Mr. Lasha. Bishops have the right to money from the head of state, President Paul Biya. You say you are Kiven Kenneth writing from Douala. I didn't say they don't have a right. I only ask a question. If the money being given to them is not the one that is causing them not to do what they are doing. They are supposed to do.
I also responded that those who receive 50,000
the system is already very corrupt at all levels. Why should the students suffer the effects while their teachers, who are the main cause of the leakage, go unpunished? You say you are Tom writing from Bonaberi. I think nepotism is really not good at all. Also, it is true that ethnic differences disrupt social cohesion. People who release GCE questions are those who work with the GCE board. Likewise, when they are caught, no sanctions are given, which instead gives them the go-ahead to carry on with their examination malpractices. I am Aborem Perry Glenn Asong. You are writing from Kumba. Good evening to you all in the studio. Racism in Cameroon is at its peak because the law is not applicable. Someone will bully call you Bamenda. Comfort is writing from Yaounde and nothing is done to the person. Good evening to everyone. On the issue of examination malpractices, I blame the government as the generator of this because in 2016-2017 academic year, students were forced to sit and write a GCE without going to school for months. The rest is history. Bernard is writing from Douala. My greetings to all of you on the table. See, it's very simple. I'm a student just from writing advanced level GCE. Students nowadays are using phones in class. An invigilator will see a student using a phone. Instead of him taking the phone, he takes the student ID for more from Tiku. Rudolph is writing us from Tiku. Good evening, Mr. Lasha. I think the leakage of the GCE these days stems from the examiners themselves. The question I will first ask is this: how does the question paper leaked? How is it responsible for the leakage, or who is responsible for the leakage? To conclude, I will blame the examiners, especially those who are responsible for compiling the questions. The GCE should hold them accountable. You see here, Anyanka writing from Yaounde. Anyanka is writing from Yaounde. Good evening to you all in the studio. I am learning a lot from this program, enjoying it. Thanks to Prime Hour. You say you are Bright from Yaounde. Bride is writing from Yaounde. Good evening. I am Abo Presley from Uyuka. Examination malpractice is a fast plague to honesty. Those who take part in examination malpractices must be apprehended. They must be apprehended according to you. Okay. I continue with the messages. Apostle Ambe, we are coming to the end of the program. Our time is up. Thank you for coming. Your last word on school resumption and the call of Bishop.
Yes, concerning school resumptions, we are asking the government to tighten security and make sure that students go back to school under a serene atmosphere. And equally, we tell those who have listened to the voice of the bishops that first and foremost, those bishops are an ecclesiastical authority, and equally, they represent the people. If you're not listening to what the government would do, at least obey what the bishops have said as congregants in their respective dioceses. They are God's authority on earth. Let us stop xenophobic attacks. Let us stop nepotism. Let us stop hatred, malice, and bitterness against each other. Cameroon is a land for every individual. You can settle everywhere, but you have the right as somebody from a tribe to make sure you protect the interests of your community, not at the expense of other people, and not by being jealous of those who succeed in your land.
Thank you, Apostle, for coming. Tah Mai Jarvis, thank you too for coming.
Thank you, Lasha. It's sad that students will have to miss a year because of a crime that was committed by someone who did not do his job. Tico, the exam center, had chief examiner. They had also the chief of center. What I'm calling on the authorities is that they should be transparent in this. They should call for a press conference and make the public to know what steps they're taking and also what needs to be done. The HVGC center has the chief of center, has an examiner, and also the accommodation center. So these persons should tell us what happened. I really feel sad for these young Cameroonians who have to go through the pain, because first of all, they were not caught with pre-prepared material in class during the period of writing. They wrote and went.
That is a particular case.
So,
we have other cases where
I'm talking about this case of, I'm not talking about the one with pre-prepared, I'm talking about the one that they said GC was leaked there. That's why their center was suspended. They wrote, they were invigilated, and invigilators signed. So if at the level of invigilators they did not see it, then you are punishing them. If my child is among those students, I'll sue the GC board and I'll win the case, because you cannot punish my child who wrote. Even if you claim that exam leaked in that center, that child, the period of writing, there's no invigilatory report that shows that that child was caught with pre-prepared material. That's why there are invigilatory report.
Okay.
So I want to call on the authorities that the decision taken to suspend a center based on leakage is harshly taken, and call on the peace-loving people of the Southwest and the Northwest region. My dear brothers and sisters, it's another period of back to school. We hold a collective responsibility to ensure that our kids and brothers and sisters get education, even as though some of you will say the education don't get down, which don't happen, which don't change. At least something will change in future. Let us not be taken off guard. Let us be prepared like the 5 wise virgins who were prepared and alert all the time. The time will come, and let our children be given education. Dear voices, please let these brothers and junior sisters of yours go back to school. We will need medical doctors, we need lawyers, we need teachers. These are the people that will come and take care of your health. Please.
Thank you, Tah Mai Jarvis. Thank you, Apostle Ambe. Thank you to televiewers of My Media Prime for watching. this other edition of Prime Hour that was brought to you live on My Media Prime Television. We are wishing you a great night. The program for tonight was produced by Ewane Nolinga. I have been Lasha Kingsley for presentation. Until then, bye-bye.